really quickly. Trade.
Yeah, it's his foot. I'm not quite sure what it is right
Okay.
now. It's definitely not it wasn't a sprained ankle. It's his foot. And I don't know if it's a midfoot sprain. They'll certainly probably do imaging and stuff. But that's all I got. They were looking at him when I got back there. But I did ask what area, and they said it's his foot.
Got it. Thank you. And then obviously just so many great clutch performances in that fourth quarter from a lot of guys. I mean, you even had Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips with some major minutes. What impressed you the most about the way everybody contributed in that fourth?
You know, I think coming out of the game last night, one of the things we had talked about was the identity piece of, for us to play the way we need to play, we've got to take care of the ball, and we've got to be able to, defensively rebound. And then the other part of it is too much fouling, slows the game down. And I thought we had much, much better ball movement tonight. I thought we played with better pace and tempo. We didn't hold the ball as much as we did the other night. I thought we played more for 48 minutes consistently. Not to say we were perfect, but consistently. I thought we were more in tune with how we've been trying to play.
Billy, what did you think about just what you got out of Kevin tonight?
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I mean, he's a very good player. I think emotionally, it's like always. It's always tough, I think, going back to a place. I'm sure it was tough for Zach tonight. DeMar did it coming to Chicago one time. But, those guys put their feet, into a place, and they give you everything they have. And when you move to the next place, it's always a little bit of emotional. So I'm sure for Kevin and both probably Zach, there was some emotion there. But, obviously he came up big tonight and really made some big threes when they were kind of gaining a little bit of momentum.
Billy, why did you change the lineup for the second half?
Well, I thought that we really had a hard time with Lyles in that second unit. We didn't switch well enough, and it really had nothing to do with Zach. It was, I think, more, the communication for him, of trying to break off coverages and get back. And a lot of times we took the coverage too deep, and we never got back to Lyles. I think he made 4 in the first half, and then I think they made 11 threes, So I just thought, one, having Modest come off the bench, I didn't know if I was going to play Zach in the second half. I thought we would try to play Patrick Modest and Julian at the 4 and the 5 based on how the minutes and how they were playing. Just to match up and switch a little bit more.
You wanted Modest to match up.
I wanted him to potentially come in and be there with that second unit as a, 4 or 5, so to speak. Julian played 5 minutes in the first half. I thought he gave us good minutes. I wanted to kind of mix it up there a little bit, and then I wanted to maybe have some flexibility there on the bench, of what we could go with. I mean, I thought Patrick gave us really good minutes in that second stint. I thought he and Julian were really good. We had Modest out there a little bit. But I think when Julian kind of came back in, that group was going pretty good. We kind of got the lead, and I just kind of stuck with them.
I feel like we're kind of broken record on this, but Kobe gets the line 14 times tonight. I mean, his ability, he's just bullying through guys. Did you see this jump in terms of, I mean, he's improved as a finisher, but I've never seen a stretch like this where he just is repeatedly getting to the rim by just putting his head down and bullying through defenders.
Yeah, I think the one thing he's figuring out, because, like, to your point, the running through, like, he had a play last night where it was a charge. I think he's done a pretty good job recognizing when a guy's on the side of him and not really in position to take a charge, or a guy's out of position, there's opportunities that he can go to the basket forcefully. He's strong. I mean, he's a very, very, very strong physical guard when he gets in there, and I think that's been probably the number one thing that he's improved upon defensively, in my opinion. When we talked about earlier in his career, he was being targeted a lot and guys were going at him, was he's improved his physicality. And I think it started first on the defensive end of the floor, but I think as he's grown, I think he's taken his physicality offensively to a different level, to your point. And we've been a team that's had a hard time getting to the free throw line, but he's been able to manufacture, free throws for us. And he's been strong going to the basket. And, you see, he hits guys and guys kind of bounce off of him a little bit. So I think it's great. I think we've mentioned this about Kobe, everything that's kind of in front of him, he may have some setbacks that may not always go well, but he's always going to fight and strive to continue to get better. And I really admire that about him.
You talked about the endurance piece of that for him as well. Is he at kind of at this point of the season where you maybe wanted his endurance to be at last year?
Yeah, I think it's much better this year. But I also think, too, with some of the injuries we've had, even if you're really, really well conditioned and you have great endurance, it's the minutes can eventually catch up with you, in all honesty, and I certainly the last two nights, I think when you look at the number of minutes he's played, I think that speaks volumes to what he's done in terms of taking care of himself physically. Certainly I'd like to bring them down. Hopefully Josh is back here for our next game. It gives a little bit more depth. Hopefully soon after that Lonzo comes back and maybe we can kind of get back into more minutes that are more manageable. Now, he's handled them very, very well, but I just don't know how sustainable is playing a guy 38, 39 minutes like we're trying to play as fast as we are.
One last one.
Coach Donovan, it appears that your team was 2 steps ahead on those 50-50 balls. I know you kind of like that effort in the second half.
Yeah, I thought it was a good second half all the way around. The loose balls were critical. We had a hard time there late in the third, containing them off the dribble one-on-one. They got around us into the rim. But I think when shots were missed, we kind of all came in there and gang rebound. I think that was a point of emphasis going into the game just because of what happened last night against Phoenix. We did not do a particularly good job rebounding, and the night before we did a really good job against Utah. So finding a level of consistency, I think, is important. Now the biggest challenge is, you're going to come back in and play against the Lakers, and we got to do the same thing over again, with a level of consistency. So it was good to see them respond the way they did to that, because that was a big part of it, big emphasis coming in here tonight because of what happened last night.
Thank you, Coach.